What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F123 My Team Career Mode. Last time out we were at the Qatar Grand Prix, and after an initially strong performance we got pole position, we got P2 in the sprint, and we were on for P2 in the race as well. We unfortunately suffered a mechanical failure which put us out of the running for scoring points, and may have just put us out of the running for getting that P6 in the Constructors' Championship, which we've been chasing this whole season, as Lando Norris picked up a podium for McLaren, not only taking McLaren ahead of us, but also taking them about 20 points ahead of us in the Constructors' Championship. So now we have a mountain to climb, and that begins here in the US, where we're going to have to do a very good job to try and score as many points as we can to keep McLaren off our back. And well, just catch them in the Constructors' Championship, basically. It's going to be tough, but it is a sprint weekend, which means there is a maximum of 33 points on offer for any particular driver. Not only that, but also I've been very impressed recently, in Qatar in particular, with Dennis Hauger, who actually scored. He didn't score points, but he made it through into Q2 for, I believe, only the second time this season. So if he can continue making it through to Q2, maybe even making it through to Q3, then perhaps he might be able to capitalize on some incidents elsewhere and score some points. It would be very useful for us. We kind of need this to be a bit of a two-horse race now, and unfortunately, I think even if it were a two-horse race, it would just be not really possible for us to score enough points to catch up with McLaren. But we will see what happens. One thing that's even more frustrating than that is that we are going to be taking a grid penalty here. It's going to be, I believe, a 10-place grid penalty for changing the MGUH because it failed in Qatar, which means that we are going to be starting no higher than 11th in the race, but at least hopefully we can pick up some good points in the sprint, and we should be able to get a good result if we can work our way back to the field after getting a good result in the sprint. But we'll see. I don't know. It really depends. It's a bit of a mixed up grid order at the moment. That's kind of what's really screwed us in trying to get this. Trying to get this P6 in the Constructors' Championship, is that over the course of the season, the teams who have been performing have kind of flipped. In the early part of the season, you know, your Alpha Tauris, your Alfa Romeos, McLaren, Alpine, all of those kind of guys were really struggling to get into the points. And now all of those guys are getting into the points. And meanwhile, you know, Haas and Ferrari, who scored big points earlier in the season, are struggling a bit more to score points, which is really harming us, because it means that Haas and Ferrari are quite significantly further ahead of us in the constructors, but they haven't managed to fall behind because they scored such a big haul of points earlier in the season. You know, Haas had 2 wins this season, don't forget, one for each driver. So that has massively bolstered their lead. You can see we're like 60 points behind them in the constructors or something like that. So it's going to be a tall order to try and catch them now. You can see that we had decent pace on the mediums. We were about a second off of Carlos Sainz, who was fastest in that session. Obviously, I'm not gonna take too much away from that, but I am optimistic of our chances of getting a good result, at least getting into Q3. Maybe scoring a few points in the sprint, and then hopefully picking up even more points in the race if we can. It's going to be a little bit more difficult with that grid penalty, obviously, but I'm still optimistic. And yeah, we'll see if we can or not. Next up, of course, is going to be qualifying, and the target here, I reckon, has to be. I mean, we've had 3 pole positions in a row now in Singapore, Japan, and Qatar. So maybe, just maybe, there exists a chance of us getting a 4th here. It has to end eventually, right? You know, I can't be picking up these pole positions forever, but I've yet to convert any of those into wins. So far, my only win in Formula 1 has come at the Canadian Grand Prix, where I actually started, I believe, 7th on the grid. I just had such superior pace over everybody that it worked out quite nicely. But here we go into the qualifying session, Q1, and we're going to be going out on a fresh set of soft compound tyres to kick things off. What sort of time are we going to do? It's a 1:32.6. It's good enough to go fastest for now, ahead of Valtteri Bottas. So, well, since we're ahead of both of the Mercedes, I would wage to say that this time it's probably going to be good enough to see us through quite comfortably. And so I went out on a used set. I went out on the same set again, and we didn't improve, but we almost did. You know, we were only like a tenth or two down into into the final few corners. So yeah, that was not too big a deal. And yeah, we're through in P2, and we're going to see if we can maybe make it through to Q3 again on only one set of soft compound tires. That means we can save 2 for the final qualifying session. And Dennis Hauger is through again in P15, so that's great news. Meanwhile, Stroll, Sargent, Joe, Fittipaldi, Hulkenberg, and De Vries are all eliminated. But yeah, for the only the 3rd time this season, I believe, Dennis Hauger has made it through into Q2. So yeah, a great result from him, and I'm immensely happy with that. And hopefully he can continue putting in those strong performances, and maybe even make his way into Q3. Who knows? As we round the final corner on another fresh set of soft compound tires. There's a 132.4 this time. But I'm not sure if you're going to see it in time or not. But there was actually a period of time here, very briefly. I don't know if it's going to cut off before he does it. Yes, it did. Where Dennis Hauger, just for a moment, went P5. And I was really optimistic about his chances of getting through into Q3. You can see we were P2 come the end of the session, about a 10th behind Bottas. We didn't improve because we went on the same set of tyres again. But we are through to Q3 in P2 once again, and maybe there exists a chance of us grabbing our 4th pole position in a row. If we can put together a really good lap, I think there might be. Dennis Hauger, just a couple tenths off of making it through into Q3. That is probably his strongest qualifying performance so far. You know, in Qatar he was P16. I can't remember what the other track he made it through was, but I believe he was also P16 in that one. But he unfortunately joins Magnussen, Sainz, Tsunoda, Ocon, and Albon as the eliminated drivers here in Q2. So yeah, he's making good progress. This is definitely impressing me. He's performing at the level that I would want him to be performing at the moment. I don't think if you put another driver in that car, he would be doing significantly better than that. So you know, maybe this is Dennis Hauger performing right at the right time to have me consider signing him again in the following season. We'll see, but you know, this is going a long way, extending a lot of goodwill on my end. So yeah, here we go into Q3, and we're out on another fresh set of soft compound tires, and we're going to see what kind of time we can do this time. It's a 1:31.7, and there is absolutely no way the AI is beating that. I refuse to believe that they would. So I think this is going to be pole position, and I was so cocky about it that I actually went out on the same set of tyres again. And you can see all the other AI have already gone. They've already done their lap, which means this is going to be pole position. It's a bit anticlimactic, but that's the way it goes. And we cross the line, and it is going to be another pole position, our 4th in a row, and I am immensely happy with that. That is going to at least hopefully help us to grab some good points in the sprint, if nothing else. And then maybe if we can win the sprint, we'll be able to work our way back from what will be P11 to grab some points in the race as well. But you know, we've got a long way to go before then, so we'll see what we can do in those. Outperforming Max Verstappen in the rivalry at the moment, which is good, especially considering earlier in the season he was looking like a championship contender. At this point, I would wage to say that the only people who are likely to win the championship, looking at what we've got, unless Red Bull can suddenly start getting some really strong results, I think it has to be either Russell or Alonso. And Alonso is retiring at the end of the season, and I'm not sure whether that glitch where they do the contract renewals early is still in effect. And if it is, then that is going to be very disappointing for Fernando Alonso. I think that's potentially what denied Hamilton a championship last season as well. So yeah, we will see whether that rings true or not. But for now, we are ready, and we are going to get into the sprint for the USA Grand Prix.
Welcome to today's sprint. This is shaping up to be another fantastic weekend. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. Robinson lines up on pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Bottas, Verstappen, Oscar Piastri, Perez, Leclerc, Gasly, Fernando Alonso, Magnussen, Hauger, Sainz, Tsunoda, Ocon, Albon, Stroll, Sargent, Joe, Fittipaldi, Hulkenberg, and Nick de Vries. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint.
Well, I guess they're not saying anything on this occasion. I believe that is Nick de Vries we are looking at the moment, and yeah, he is going to be doing everything he can to try and score some points here. Meanwhile, we're going to be doing everything we can to try and win here at the US Grand Prix in both the sprint and the race if we can. With that grid penalty, I think the race is going to be a little bit harder than I'm making it out to be, but I'm still optimistic, and we'll see what we can do. But for now, we're going to be taking one set of mediums the whole 10 laps here in the sprint and seeing if we can bag some big points. 8 points for a victory here in the sprint, of course. And we've got some hard chargers behind us. We've got the McLarens. We've got the Mercedes. I think those are going to be our biggest rivals here today. We've got Verstappen on the soft compound tyres in P5 as well. Maybe he could give us a hard session. But the task is going to be, I think, to keep Russell and Bottas behind on those soft compound tyres. I think I'll be able to keep Norris behind on the mediums, but we'll see what they can. We'll see what they can do. And yeah, I'm optimistic about our chances of winning this one, to be honest with you, as we get a great parking there, and that is going to give us a really good opportunity to get away, even against these guys on soft compound tyres. You know how strong my starts are on this game still, and yeah, we'll see. Can we get a good result here? Can we bag some big points? I think we can. I have nothing but optimism. We need to bag big points here today. Realistically, we need this victory if we want to catch McLaren in the constructors, but we'll see what we can do as the lights come on and the lights go out, and we've had a good getaway. George Russell, I think, has had a bad getaway there, and Norris has already jumped him. Meanwhile, Valtteri Bottas as well has had a great getaway. He's piling some pressure on Lando Norris and maybe even thinking about going for a move on him, and he does in fact go for a move on him. They hold each other up a little bit there, and that has allowed me to get away nice and easily. Meanwhile, Verstappen had a bad start. Piastri is up into P5, so this is actually not good for us, because whilst I might be scoring 8 points here, it means that McLaren will be scoring 10, and so they'll actually be exceeding or extending rather their lead in P6 in the Constructors' Championship, and maybe even moving towards catching Haas before the end of the season if they can get some really strong results. You know, obviously they had a podium in Qatar, so they're actually not too far away from them now. There's only about 40 points separating them, so if they can average about 10 points per race weekend, then they have a really good chance. You know, they've got two really strong drivers. This team is mostly just me, myself, and I scoring points at the moment. Hauger, of course, got one, I believe, in that mad Baku race that I wasn't a part of, where Nico Hulkenberg came home with the victory. But yeah, we are controlling the race, controlling the pace at the moment here in the US. And Valtteri Bottas 7/10 behind us. It's quite clear that we're faster than him through the middle sector, but then I think he gains on us a little bit through the first and final sectors. So yeah, it really is going to depend on if I can manage my battery nicely and if I can defend probably as well, especially once he starts to get DRS. I think it's all going to come down to stuff like defense and things like that. But yeah, first lap so far, we got this completely under control, which is nice to see. And yeah, now we are going to move on to lap 4, and you can see there is a yellow flag behind for some reason. I'm not sure who that is. Not sure who that's for, but it looks like it might be a Haas possibly, looking at it as everyone worms their way past. And yes, it is indeed Kevin Magnussen. He is out of the session, and that is a virtual safety car, which is the first time I've seen one of those in quite a while. So yeah, we're controlling the pace at the moment, and this is good. It means that Bottas is not going to get a chance to catch us any more than he already has, although that doesn't make too much of a difference because there's only a few tenths behind us to begin with. And yeah, that is us just trying to make sure that we don't exceed the delta, because it could end at any point. You can see I was very close there. I didn't want to go drive-through, so I had to be very, very careful. And well, I'm not sure that we actually got the best getaway from there, because I was kind of stopping and starting, trying to make sure that I didn't do anything stupid. And it means that Bottas is actually pretty close to us now. So we're going to have to be very careful here. I'm going to be burning quite a lot of battery on the run down to the next corner at the end of this DRS zone. But Bottas will, of course, have the DRS. It was only a VSC. It wasn't a full safety car, which means they don't disable DRS. And you can see that we are going wheel to wheel with him. Have I broken just a tad too late there? I'm not sure. Looks like we're just about keeping our wheel in. And now we're going to be going up the inside of him to the following corner. Is he going to be able to make the move stick, or are we going to be able to hold on to this position? I don't know. He's piling a lot more pressure on us. We're still wheel to wheel through the next corner. And it means I get a little bit of a better exit here, but he's going to stay in the fight. I'm going to have to give him a little bit of room going around this long right-hander. And you can see that we are still wheel to wheel. We make a bit of contact there. Maybe I didn't give enough room. I'm not sure. That was a big collision. I actually think I'm the one that got a warning for that in the end. We do have DRS here, which is going to be nice. It means that we're going to be able to hopefully make the move on him. But you can see that was an absolute joke of an exit for Valtteri Bottas there. He just got away. I think I even said to myself at the time, I was like, are you kidding me that he got that kind of exit? But we brake nice and late, and we brake a little bit too late, in fact, for the following corner. We've gone off the track, and that has allowed not only Bottas to make his way through on us, but also Lando Norris is going to be able to get ahead here, and that is not what I wanted to see right now, and that is us down into P3. But as we move a little bit further ahead in the lap, you can see that we are going to be gaining again on Lando Norris. He does have the DRS, however, with the slipstream and with the battery, we're going to be trying to make this move on him again as we go down into the following corner at the end of the DRS zone. You can see that we're going to try and go around the outside of him, and we're wheel to wheel once again. I don't want to have another wheel to wheel battle, so I get a little bit more aggressive. I maybe take a bit more space on the track than I was taking when I was battling with Bottas, and that is us back up into P2. And we are still within Bottas's DRS range, so hopefully we can pile some pressure on him to try and catch up with him. A couple laps later, however, and you can see that we still haven't caught up with him, and I think that maybe we're just going to have to settle for this P2, or it's happened again. How many races is this now where this has happened? This is actually ridiculous. This is, I think, the 6th time now in about 8 races or something like that that we have suffered a mechanical failure. This cannot keep happening. This is unbelievable. They just can't seem to keep the car working for a whole season, clearly. And I think we're just going to keep having failure after failure after failure after failure, because I just don't know what to do. You know, we replace the parts, we take the grid penalties, we have good results, and then it's still not enough. You know, it's infuriating is what it is. And it is single-handedly killing any chance I might have of finishing P6 in this Constructors' Championship.
Let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. Not the result our points leader wanted, but it certainly makes things interesting going forward. The grid is set then, so that just leaves the race itself. Join us tomorrow, where we'll be live with all the action, and until then, goodbye.
Well, a quick check of the standings. You can see that there's 3 points separating Alonso and Russell now, and McLaren have extended their lead on us even further, up to 25 points, which means even if I won a race, we still wouldn't overtake them, even if both of them finished outside of the points. Which means that from 21st on the grid, I think we're going to be once penalties are applied. We are going to be really struggling here to get a good result. You know, we gotta make our way feasibly. If we want to score good points to stay in this fight, we're gonna have to make our way to at least, I reckon, P5, something like that. So we have to make up 16 positions in this race if we want to have any chance of staying in this fight with McLaren. I just don't see how it's possible, to be honest with you. And yeah, I think that this is probably the place where the Constructors' Championship dream came to an end. And we are going to be losing out on a significant amount of income from the sponsor this season, which means that you know, the smooth sailing that we had in last year's career mode is not going to be the story of this year's career mode. And you are about to spot exactly what the error I made is, which I reference in the video title as we get into the US Grand Prix.
Here we are then in one of the fastest growing cities in the United States, the fabulous Austin in the great state of Texas. The circuit itself, 14 miles southeast of the city centre, has been home to the US Grand Prix since 2012, the latest in a long list of iconic tracks to have that honour. We're racing then today in Travis County, Texas, around the 20 corners of the wonderful Circuit of the Americas. We'll be reaching speeds around 200 miles per hour here today, and there are plenty of good opportunities to pass, especially through the 2 DRS zones into Turn 1 and the long back straight into Turn 12. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Perez, Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, Gasly, Oscar Piastri, Tsunoda, Stroll, Verstappen, Hauger, Ocon, Albon, Joe, Fittipaldi, Hulkenberg, Sargent, Sainz, De Vries, Robinson, and Kevin Magnussen fills the last spot on the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. And joining me again for the race today, Natalie Pinkham. Let's talk about Robinson, joined once again by Anthony Davidson in the commentary box. And they've suffered a grid penalty due to taking a new engine. It could mean a tough race in store.
But on the bright side, at least those fresh components can help them maintain the power they need to come through the pack. I expect to see them take a much more aggressive approach today to make up for that compromised start.
Well, it is going to be a long race for us. 28 laps around the Circuit of the Americas. And we are going to be starting on these soft compound tyres. We are going to be taking a lot of life out of them and then switching to the medium compound tyres to the end. However, if you look down in the bottom right, you will notice there is something up with my engine. It seems that one of my components is pretty worn. Was this another component than the one that failed before? No, it's the same component because I forgot to change component between the sprint and the race. I always do this. This happened 2 times on my stream on last year's game, where I had a mechanical failure during the sprint and then forgot to change the component before the race, and so suffered a failure in both. And I'm pretty sure there's no way that you can take a 99% worn component all the way to the end of a race. You might just about be able to do it in a sprint, possibly, but there's no conceivable way you can do it in a race. So I'm just warning you now, if you don't want to watch the rest of this video as the lights come on and the lights go out, there will be a mechanical failure here. Yeah, we're going to be just seeing what we can do. You can see the smoke periodically puffing out of the back of my car. I don't know how many positions we've made up so far. I think that's at least, 3 or 4. We're challenging a Williams and a Ferrari here. We're going to try and go around the outside of both of them, I think. Have we managed to pull it off? We've got ahead of the Williams, but maybe not the Ferrari. We're going wheel to wheel with the Ferrari. I believe that's Sainz, and that's 5 positions gained already, although we started 21st, didn't we? So that's 4 positions gained, I guess. So this puts us up into 17th, I believe. So we've already made up a good number of positions here on the opening lap, but maybe we can go for even more as we try and close down on this second Williams. I don't know which one is which. I don't know the numbers off by heart, but we're diving up the inside of whichever one that is, and also of the AlphaTauri, I assume of De Vries. I think Albon is further up, and that is 2 more positions gained for us, and we are up into P15 now, and we're going to try and pile some pressure here on Zhou Guanyu ahead of us in the Alfa Romeo and see if we can get up into P14. As we move to the outside, we're going to go for the dive up the inside of him. Of course we are. I don't know why you would even question that. We're just going to have some fun here for however many laps my car holds out until it eventually gives up. We try and pile some pressure on Esteban Ocon now. Can we get ahead of him? He's being held up a little bit by my teammate Dennis Hauger, the legend, and yeah, we'll see if he can hold up Ocon and allow me to get ahead of him. No team orders here today. We're just going to race the best we can. I don't think Dennis Hauger has more pace than me, even if I do have smoke coming out of the back of my car. I would love to see what Zhou Guanyu is seeing right now. I imagine it can't be particularly pleasant to just get blinded every 5 seconds or so. But yeah, not much I can do, unfortunately. Just, yeah, it's an honest mistake. It happens sometimes. But I think pretty much any chance we might have had of getting back at McLaren now has been completely killed, because they're probably going to have at least one car finishing on the podium here today. And we're going to have neither car finishing in the points again today as we dive up the inside of Esteban Ocon and make our way through into P13. And now we're going to see if we can set after Dennis Hauger, Lance Stroll and the cars in the points. See if we can maybe, you know, say to ourselves, okay, well, we probably would have bagged some points if the car hadn't broken down. But the car is going to break down. I just want you guys to know that. There's no conceivable way that you can take the car 28 laps here. I am almost certain of this fact. So, yeah, we'll see what we can do as we make our way through the corner into the DRS zone. And the DRS has been enabled now that we're on lap 3, so this should be a fairly trivial overtake on my teammate, even if we are down on power due to the problems with the engine. you can see that we have made our way through and up into P12, and unfortunately it comes at a pretty bad time because Stroll was broken out of Hauger's DRS range and subsequently out of my DRS range as well. And what that means is, despite the fact that we overtook Hauger up into P12, Stroll is just getting away and getting away and getting away. So at this point in the race, we find ourselves in a little bit of a no man's land, as we can't really make any more progress up the field at the moment. I'm not really sure what to do. I think potentially we could go for an undercut here, pit on like lap 10 or 11 instead. I think the mediums will probably last 17, 18 laps and it should be fine. I had a bit of a worry then that the car broke down on that lap because I saw the red engine and I was like, oh no, that's just because the engine's actually broken and I'm driving around with a broken engine. Of course, in real life, you would get black and orange flagged for this, or probably just black flag, to be honest, because you look at that and you go, there's no conceivable way that they can fix the engine mid-race and then send you back out. It's just not really possible. So, yeah, I think that's not something that's particularly realistic, but there wasn't much I could do. The tyres now getting up to about 50-60% as we make our way around the final few corners. And, well, I see that some cars are coming into the pits, and so I made a last-second decision to pit, and we actually almost crashed into the wall there because of how late I left it to go into the pits. But I think that this is going to be good on the off chance that our car actually does last the entire race, which, given that it's lasted this long, I'm actually becoming a little bit more optimistic about our chances of the car making it the whole way. But I still don't, between you and me, I still don't really think it's going to happen. We'll see, but it just doesn't seem like the kind of thing that's going to be possible. As we exit the pits now, it was a slow stop. We had a pit stop error, so that means that we're probably going to get repassed by the likes of Hauger and Ocon, I would imagine. But on these medium compound tyres, we'll see if we can set some fast laps to try and get back ahead of them. And you can see now, as we come onto the start of lap 13, we actually do come out ahead of both Hauger and Ocon, and the gap is pretty similar to what it was before the pit stop phase, which suggests to me that if I hadn't had that pit stop error, I might have even been able to do an undercut or something like that. So yeah, that was a little bit disappointing. But you know, we're almost halfway through this race now, and maybe just maybe the engine is going to be able to hold out for the duration of the race. You know, this would be absolutely inspired if I was even able to finish the race at this point. Never mind scoring points or anything like that. However, as you can see, it didn't last much longer after that. This was on the following lap, lap 14, the car completely just cut out. It actually counted as a terminal damage failure rather than a mechanical failure, I guess because it was a failure of my own design. However, I did try doing a flashback just to see what it would do, and well, they wouldn't let me flashback. So my only choice really was to either restart the session, which wouldn't have made a difference because I can't change the component, or to retire from the session, which is what we're going to have to do, unfortunately. So yeah.
Take the checkered flag then here in Austin in what has been another fabulous Grand Prix.
Oh, Natalie, you've got to be kidding me.
What was it that helped the team achieve their success today?
Quite simply, a driver is nothing without the team behind them. So, a deserved winner, but we do have to give a shout out to the team in the pit lane and back at the factory. Very much a collaborative process.
As the winners make their way up to the podium, one can only imagine the celebrations that will take place at McLaren tonight. Congratulations to everyone on the team, securing the win and proving they're a force to be reckoned with out on the track.
Well, RIP our chances of finishing P6 in the Constructors' Championship 2023 to 2023. Lando Norris picks up the victory. I think he's already had a victory this season, so it's not his first victory in Formula 1, but I believe it is his first victory this season, and he is flanked by George Russell and Sergio Perez, so I can only assume that Bottas must have had some kind of issue which led to Norris finishing in this position.
So let's have a look then at the drivers' standings. George Russell takes the lead of the Drivers' Championship. Let's focus on Driver of the Day, Natalie Pinkham. Come on, who do you pick?
I think for Driver of the Day, I'd probably pick Lando Norris. He lived up to every inch of his reputation today, and I think he'll be going home, quite rightly, a bit proud of himself.
It's time to check out the Constructors' standings. The lead at the top comes down after a strong weekend from the challenging pack. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time? Be sure to join us again as we continue to bring you the latest excitement in Formula 1.
Well, that is going to be a mammoth effort from us if we do manage to overturn this deficit. It is 52 points, and we're going to be taking another grid penalty at the following race because we obviously have that engine component that we still have to change, which I'm pretty sure we were on our last one if I remember correctly. So yeah, it is going to be another grid penalty for the next race. I can't remember what race it is. I think it might be Portugal coming up next. I could be wrong about that. It could be Brazil. I can't remember if Portugal comes before or after Brazil. I think it's before. So yeah, I think it's going to be Portugal next. Going to be a good race for us, hopefully. First time I've driven around there on this year's game, at least in career mode, so it should be fun. But yeah, disappointing one this time around. Some of my own design. But that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.